I think what called me into ministry in the beginning, even as a young person, was that Jesus was so powerful to me in the words that he spoke, that not just the words that he spoke, but whatever he spoke, he put into practice. He said he has come from God to bring good news, to heal the sick and the lame, and help us to bring sight to those who are blind. And throughout the Scripture, I notice, at least the stories that are presented in the Gospel, that he's not in church much. I was just amazed. He's not in church much. He's out. He's going to where the people are. And most of the stories are not necessarily sermons. There are a couple. Sermon on the Mount, big communion service feeding of the 5,000. But most are stories of going out, and along the way of sharing the good news, he put it into practice. He had compassion upon those who came upon. And he then said to his disciples, this is a part of who you are. Go into all the world and teach and preach. Don't just start churches and hold yourself up, a little castle, and hope that people come to your door. That's not what Jesus asked us to do. It's a part of our DNA, if you will, as Christian people, to be out and about and to seek the lost. I come to confess to you today. I don't even like to say it out loud. I'm willing to confess to you today, in my early days of being a pastor, Jesus sent us out to be compassionate to the poor and the downtrodden. And so I always thought the people who lived on the other side of the track, not me, not even the congregation I was serving, because we're perfect, we're good, we really don't have that many problems. That mostly it was toward black, it was toward poor, but we forget that what Jesus was saying was the ministry to everyone. And so sometimes we overlook self, our own congregation, and our community in which we live. It may be more affluent. But are there people in our midst who have heavy, heavy wounds that they carry? Are there people in our midst who are suffering of things that's happened to them or the sins that they have committed? Are there people really looking for life and truth? I've heard it from many people, my relatives and a few others, about their children, for instance. I don't know what's wrong. They seem to have no vision about what they want to do with their life. Well, I think that's true of the world right now. I'm not sure if we know where we are. We're at a crossroads. What are we to do as a Christian church? We're to hunker down and just let the storms beat, and we'll be all right for a while. Or do we be out there in the storm and doing things, recognizing those who are in need and help, bringing sight and healing to those round about us? Jesus over and over said that to us. So I'm willing to confess that for years I overlooked sometimes the very people who needed our help, my help, because we don't speak up. We allow titles and money and circumstance and neighborhoods and so forth to cover up those pains, those hurts that sometimes go deep into our life. We just don't address that. We don't address that in ourselves. We don't address it to the community in which we may be serving. And we still are to serve others. But I'm changing my mind. We are not just serving those around the world, and certainly they still need it. We're not just serving the poor in the inner city, and certainly we have abandoned our ministry to the urban setting, oftentimes. One, it costs too much money. We just don't have it. Although many churches I know carry large endowments. I don't mean to say that out loud, but I guess I could say that out loud. And sometimes it's taking person-to-person contact. But sometimes people do not need your money as much as they need your presence. That's what Jesus was trying to say. Just need your presence. And when we do one thing, remember, it's done in faith. God will help us through Christ. One little deed begins to explode in another little deed, and another deed, and another deed, and it just keeps going. One of the things that Donnie Goodwin I thought I saw Donnie here. There he is, back in the back. And Gary Samples. Where's Gary at? You may not be out washing cars. Thank you, Gary. Well, we sent some folks. Dan Cromfield, I think you're here, Dan. Bruce Carpenter, I think he's out working. Zane's back over to school. They went, as Zane said, 5 old guys and 1 college kid. Went to New York City to a congregation that's down and out a little bit, but eclectic, a little bit of everything in that congregation. They share the building with a Korean congregation. And they could not get over that these 5 old guys, and they're not old, and 1 college student came from Ohio looking for nothing, brought their tools, brought some money for the materials that they needed, and they got excited. Why would a person do this? And then the Korean church and the other church, if I understand this right, Donnie, they got together. And now, because they didn't really get together much, now they're getting together. Maybe some other outside people got together and enjoyed the week that they were there and the things they're done, and still could not get over God's immense love. By the way, the Korean church hosted them one night, and they had sushi. I don't think any of the 5 old guys had it, but Zane did. But they treated them, and they tried to give back. But they came and got involved. Not just our own, but they came and tried to do some things. And the pastor wrote a little email back and said, you can't imagine what you've done. What little you think you've done is going to explode and continue to grow in this congregation. That's the nature of God's love. The seeking lost, saving lost, healing people. It just continues to explode and grow down the line.